I love that. I love that. Oh, and it's Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Thank you for joining me today so we can break things down, talk about it. NBA draft last night. The trades tried to overshadow the day. There was a lot going on. And we got to talk WNBA today. So full show. Kelsey, welcome to the show, babe.
Thank you so much, Nat. I always love joining you. Like you said, we have so much to get into. So I hope everyone's ready for this special Friday edition because basketball had us busy, Nat. We could take no breaks.
No, I know it was crazy, but of course the story of the night is Wemby, of course. I mean, it was the Wemby sweepstakes all year. Do you feel like it was a little anticlimactic? Because there was no doubt about who was going first. Scoot,
right,
who sort of is becoming my fave, was trying to advocate that he's the best. And look, I get it. You know, you all should think you're the best. But we all knew it was Wemby. We all knew Victor was going to go first. And these players are confident, you know, like the way they're talking. I mean, he's already talking about championships and, you know, he's going to do what like greats like Tim Duncan did and those who preceded him. So I love it. I mean, obviously, I think Pop is the perfect coach for him. But yeah, I mean, it's just it did for me. It felt a little anticlimactic because it was like we all know it's going to be him. We're just like waiting for it to happen. There was no surprise, no nothing. So it was just like I don't know. It felt a little not. It was exciting, but just a little, you know. Some of the thrill was taken out of it.
Yeah. No, Nat, I think you hit on the important pieces. Like we've been talking about Wemby, it seems like for the last 2 months. I think people who aren't even basketball fans knew Victor Wembanyama because that's all every single major sports broadcast has talked about. His height. We know he's 7'5". We get he's from France. We know how great he is as a basketball player. But like you said, I think maybe that took some of the excitement away. But for me, the excitement came from Coach Pop. I mean, we got a smile out of him in the press conference. He said he's excited. He said, I mean, do you want me to jump up and down? Do you guys want me to do a cartwheel? I mean, this is probably one of the more fun Gregg Popovich press conferences that we've had in a while. And like you said, Victor's already talking about championships and San Antonio's thirsty for that, all right? It's been a while in San Antonio. I think they need something and someone to inspire them. And so I think that's what he brought. I think even more so, though, what we were excited about with Victor was just seeing his family and how special it was for his brother, his sister, his mom, and dad. You could see how much he worked up to that moment. And I think that's kind of what we live for now, Nat, with the drafts now, right? Those family stories, kind of seeing more about who these guys are off the basketball court. So I think it was fun to see that. I think we're excited for San Antonio, but I'm not as excited yet. We saw what happened to Chet Holmgren last season. I would at least want to see him play some good basketball. Hopefully injury does not get to him. But I think folks, you know, be excited for him, root for him, but still give him a chance to breathe and really learn what it is to be an NBA player because playing abroad, playing in Europe is much different now. But nonetheless, go Wemby and excited to see San Antonio Spurs merchandise sales go up.
Yeah. And I mean, as you pointed out, another international player. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the international players just seem to take over. I mean, I think people were doing their research and homework, you know, with some of these players, I think in the draft, but I think it just shows, you know, college is so different now here in the US. There's different pathways to get to the NBA. I mean, so many of us now are talking about the G League, right? The NBA G League and that impact, you know, of these players, overtime elite and all of these different pathways and then also abroad. I mean, you know, there was a tweet yesterday that was so funny. It was like, how many Frenchmen can the NBA draft? Well, the Frenchmen can play good basketball, Matt, it seems like, because the teams are betting on them. And I think that just shows you too, NBA, and I have a good friend that's an NBA scout, they are sending folks abroad because they are just seeing the talent is not just here in the US, especially abroad. You're looking at the size, the athleticism, I think that you get from a lot of these players. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get more, you know, Nikola Jokic and, you know, who else, will we get? But all that to say, I think the international impact is obviously just huge.
Yeah, I love that in your feed. And also you pointing out like with the G League and like Scoot, you know, Henderson, you know, having played there before. I just think like the draft is starting to look so different now. And so, you know, and I mean, look, I mean, you know, we're talking about Wemby right now, but I mean, even like the current players, right? You have Luka,
Miles, mute the TV.
I'm sorry? Oh yeah.
No, I'm saying you're so right when you're saying.
Yeah, we have Luka, we have Giannis, we have, of course, the current champion and finals MVP, Nikola Jokic, right? And so many Joel Embiid, who just won MVP, deserved MVP. Not revisiting that, but just gonna throw that in. So yeah, it's just like it's an international like affair in the NBA, and I love that. I think it's great because when I was younger and I grew up, I like my family, we were a fan of Patrick Ewing, because we're Jamaican, and it's like I think sometimes people didn't think of him as like international because he did grow up. He did like not fully. He spent a number of years in Jamaica, but he was here. So I just just more international faces, just more diversity in the league. I think it's a great thing, So Wemby just brought a lot of joy last night, a lot of excitement with the number 1 pick, but there were some other guys, who got picked. I don't think the top 3 were really that big of a surprise. You had Brandon Miller going second. There was some talk of whether Scoot Henderson would move up to 2. Brandon Miller went second, and he did not get the kind of ovation. He didn't get a welcoming ovation in Charlotte. And we've seen this before. We like Porzingis, we've seen players get booed before. And what did you think of the reception? Because I'm not sure if they just feel like the wrong player was picked. I don't know if they were booing maybe because of other controversies surrounding him. I'm not sure what to make of that, Kelsey.
I'm glad you brought up the Kristaps Porzingis incident, because we all remember when he got drafted and when the reception that he got, the boos very loudly, fans making sure they knew how they felt. And I think going back to the international player point, I think that's because we were newer to that point of international players. I think now NBA fans are getting more used to that. But, with Brandon Miller, when the mascot looks sad, it's bad now. And when even the person who gets paid to excite fans during the draft. But I think, Charlotte Hornets fans, I think obviously there's a lot happening around Brandon Miller. We know he's an all-around talent. We know how well he can play as a basketball athlete. But it's some of the other drama, I think, surrounding him, why some people were like, look, we can get somebody else who's just as talented. Now, Scoot doesn't have his size. I think we forget how big Brandon Miller is. I mean, this is a huge athlete, about 6'9". I mean, you're getting a mass athlete. You see what he can do on the offensive boards, and even on the defensive side of the basketball. And I'm speaking too as someone who's lived in Charlotte, understands that Charlotte Hornets basketball atmosphere. But all in all, I think he's going to have to prove his worth and prove his play. Because let's be honest, Nat, the Charlotte Hornets can only go up from here. So I think, if Brandon Miller is even to be a glimpse of what he was in college, if he's able to just focus on basketball. And I think if we're honest, we have to talk about the environment that he's going to be playing in the NBA, not only at home, but when he goes on the road, there probably will be fans who won't be as welcoming. Now, if we go back to college and saw his game back, you saw how well he was actually able to play despite kind of all the hostility around. So hopefully he's able to stay focused, seeing his family too during the draft yesterday. But all in all, I think, Charlotte Hornet fans, I think they're just like, let's get somebody talented with less drama around it. Because, Charlotte's like, we don't want this mess. We don't want this mess. But I think give Brandon Miller a chance. I do think he's a very talented athlete. I do think his skills will be comparable to the NBA level. What about you, Nat? What did you think from the booing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand their reservations if it is about the other stuff, because like they already have a number of players in that organization that have a lot of drama, some, issues, arrests, things like that. So I don't want it to, take away from the draft and all that happened last night, but I understand maybe their hesitance in maybe perhaps wanting a player that's drama free. Again, I'm not really sure why they were booing. Like if they just don't think he's a good pick, I'm not sure.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.